Welcome everybody to this week's edition of the Liberty First Foundation Weekly Roundtable. I'm Mike Marshall, your host. With me we have Dal Graham and Michael Vasquez, Dragon of the Southern Tier. Welcome everybody, and people in the chat, please join us, join in the conversation. Keep us in check. Okay, challenge us on our positions and so forth. We encourage that, and we want you to um, let your views known. Okay, with that, Michael, you're the one that stays on top of all this stuff, so I'm going to let you kind of lead the way.
Well, there's just no end of the things that have been going on recently. Obviously, we see that there's been a follow-up from last week about the Epstein files. Trump has authorized Pam Bondi, the Attorney General for the United States, to release whatever she would deem to be of significance for the public. So there is a backlash. It has reached, and Trump has reacted to it. And whether that does or does not satisfy the public, unknown. What that information may be, don't know. It could be a bunch of files that turn out to, from within a bunch of information, people may be able to pull out a list or not, don't know. We know that Republicans in Congress have voted down several initiatives to try and follow up on this and the release of information. It's said that Ghislaine Maxwell has come forward saying that she wants to, or she is willing to speak, probably part of a deal to reduce the amount of time that she's in jail for, to give up some names. Of course, she's an unreliable witness because who knows what names she would give or would not give that may or may not be part of political preferences or protection or God knows what. So that's suspect, but yet it is something that people have been pointing out for a long time, has not come forward. So that's the Epstein portion, and that's kind of a follow-up, still in development. We'll see how that turns out. Yeah. But in the meantime, there's been a hell of a lot of other things that have been going on that continue to be moving on that people are familiar with or not familiar with in terms of what's happening with illegal immigration. That's one of the big ones. There's internationally, Hamas again refused another attempt to get a ceasefire. Russia has been given 50 days notice. It's actually about 48 days now to end or to come to the peace ceasefire table and to make a legitimate effort towards a ceasefire. And if Russia does not, then a new round of sanctions targeting Russia, 100% tariffs, will begin. Now, this is unlike what we saw with Joe Biden, who is only looking at just having sanctions, no tariffs. Tariffs fill a gap the sanctions do not. That affects the economy of Russia. So even if they're getting money from China or from Iran or from North Korea, tariffs would still have an impact on their economy. So it would actually be more effective than sanctions by themselves would be. And that is an effort to try and get some movement forward on the Ukraine-Russia war, as well as Trump has authorized and put forward weapons, deliveries of weapons for the Ukraine, which was delayed by Pete Hegseth, the Department of Defense, but it did go forward. So let's just start with that stuff. There's a hell of a lot of other stuff, but let's just run off of those three things. What's up?
I see Russia is issuing nuclear threats again because of this. Let me throw this up here real quick.
In the meantime, did you guys hear about the earthquake up in Alaska?
Yeah, 7.3. 7.3 earthquake with a tsunami that's going to be hitting in through Alaska. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope everybody in Alaska, locks in and you stay safe. If you need to, get the high ground and, weather the storm. So good luck.
Alaska's weathered this before. And they always, when an earthquake hits a certain magnitude there, when I lived up there, every time an earthquake hit of a certain magnitude, tsunami warnings were automatically issued. And that's a result of the 9.2 earthquake that they had in the 60s.
It's not really because of the magnitude. It's because of the coastal location. Same thing happens for Japan and for the China and Russia. They're easternmost portions. And you see this in Philippines and most Southeast Asia.
Right.
It's not so much the earthquake, because even a 5.2 can cause a tsunami. It just won't be a big one. But it's not the magnitude, it's the location, how deep into the ocean. If it's more attached to the coastline.
They've already withdrew it.
Oh, they did?
They withdrew the tsunami warning?
Yeah. Anchorage Daily News. 7.3 magnitude earthquake triggers a brief tsunami warning for Southwest Alaska communities.
Yeah, and I still warn those people, and we should still be aware. That's still, they may say it's not a tsunami. You're going to have high waves and great disruption.
They later downgraded the warning to an advisory, which was then canceled shortly before 3 p.m.
Yeah, that's like, and if you trust them, you can also trust that tomorrow it might or might not snow. I don't trust them. Prepare for a tsunami. You don't get it, you lost nothing. If it winds up being a tsunami, you're ahead of the game.
Let's see. 8. So, this was published 2 hours ago, updated an hour ago. Let me share this.
Yeah,
and
you're
this
the only
is
one who can share
out of
anything.
Alaska. So,
And thanks to Frank for joining us. He probably rocketed in from his 9 to 5. Hey, hi, Frank.
So it's centered off of Alaska's Aleutian chain. It's 54 miles south of the community of Sandpoint at 12:30 p.m. With a depth of about 12 miles.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We should be more concerned about, one, again, prepare for the worst and be happy if you don't ever have to execute that plan. The second thing is what's been going on with FEMA. I mean, look at what happened in Texas with the flash flooding, and they went through a second round of flash floods as well, most recently this week. And so it's been bad. We really need to focus our government and our funding, and we really need to stop paying for these illegal aliens that are draining our cities, draining our infrastructure, and diverting money and resources away from things like FEMA. And
I don't agree with FEMA either.
If I have to have one or the other, and at the moment we do, then I want FEMA. I don't want the illegal aliens. I don't want them living in 3-star hotels.
Okay, I don't want either of them. Period.
We don't get that choice.
Yeah, we do.
At the moment, we don't.
Yeah, we do.
Maybe after 2026.
Okay, it's we the people.
Right, but either way, that's going to the drain on the infrastructure is going to make it harder, especially since they're islands, to get relief of any sort, whether it's from private industry or individuals, out to those islands with
But
the infrastructure being
it's a moot
sapped.
point anyway.
Yeah,
Okay, there
just
wasn't a
prepare.
tsunami. They have issued a brief warning as a precaution, which they always do whenever there's these types of events, and it amounted to literally nothing.
Which is good.
Okay, and it is good, but we need to start looking at this and quit thinking. And I've always been an advocate of this. We need to quit saying that we need the government to fix this stuff.
No, I'm not saying
It's
the government
not
should fix
the government's responsibility to provide aid in natural disasters.
That's not what I'm saying. It's not that it's not that I want the government to do it, but they are doing it. And when they are doing something, I want the most effective way to get it done. And at the moment, that means, and I understand, I want smaller government. Fantastic. We're getting that. Trump just fired, the State Department. They just got rid of 1,300 people. We're starting to see that there's going to be a reduction in the number of people in the Department of Education and USAID because the Supreme Court finally agreed that the president can manage the various departments of the government, which is his job. And so let the president do his job, manage the department. So we're going to see that, and you'll see unemployment go up as a result of that. But until we get to that equilibrium, until we get to 2026 and some people get replaced, this is the scenario. And I want to see, the same thing. Manage the money better. Cut the funding for illegal aliens. Pump up FEMA. I think that's the better way. Even if they just give a check to the state and let the state do it, fine. I don't care. I just want to see more with FEMA.
I want to see nothing with FEMA. Okay, because here's the thing. FEMA does not benefit the entirety of the United States. It benefits a small portion of the United States.
By definition. It's based on disasters. It can't fix everything. It's only where the disaster.
Okay, and what part of the Constitution says that direct specific aid is authorized by Congress?
Again, until we can get to that point, I have to deal with what we have.
Okay, and that's why I fully believe this FEMA, as long as we keep FEMA in place, people will not figure out how to deal with these disasters on their own.
So,
okay, as long as FEMA is in place, we'll have incidents that happen like North Carolina and then the flip-flop of it in California.
Go down.
I was just going to say
up the volume though, if you can.
Okay, give me 1 sec. Individuals still preparing for their own. Is that better? Yeah. Individuals preparing for their own disaster relief is usually the best way to go anyway. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best. That is a tried and true method of disaster relief. So, if you're in an area that is prone to hurricanes or tornadoes or flooding, then, plan accordingly. But make sure you have a plan that is effective. So, the weather has been really crazy this year. And maybe not outside of most people's memories, but I can tell you that I haven't seen weather like this across the country in my lifetime. Like there's always been disasters, but it's not been this frequent in my memory.
I don't know. But when was Katrina? There was the 77. I'm older than you, so I remember a little further back. But no, it's really, it's not an where we really haven't gone outside the norm.
No, we
Yeah.
haven't.
Maybe
Okay,
it's
I can
because we have-
remember 84
Yeah.
was tremendously violent with weather. Okay, and actually 84 ranks up there as one of the years with the most tornadoes across the country. Also, it had some of the most severe flooding in history. You can go back to there's several times throughout history with major flooding here on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you have Irene that hit up here.
Yeah.
Okay, this what we're seeing is not uncommon.
Is
So,
it?
yeah.
Does it maybe seem like it's more prevalent just because?
No,
we
it's
have-
more reported.
That's what I was going to get to. Is that it's because we have more real time media that we're seeing it more often.
It's not even the real time media. It's the bias of the media. They're saying it's, oh my God, it's climate change. It's terrible. Literally, and we've seen this across the world, several nations like the UK in particular, you can go back and you can look at temperatures in the 90s, maybe 100 in, say, Northeast in England and such. If you go back 10 years ago, you can go back, look at the old footage of some of the news reports in roughly the same time frame. I mean, within a week or two of the report today. 10 years ago, there was another report saying the same exact thing. Then they were saying, it's a warm one. It's up there. Now they're saying, oh my God, it's climate change. Everything's going to die. That's the difference. Because it's realistically, it's not much different. And why are they screaming
More
about the climate change?
sensationalized.
Money. What's that?
Yeah.
It's more sensationalized.
Yeah.
It is a grab for government money.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, they're really, I can remember, like I said, through my history, Michael's close to my age. I can remember a lot of years where we've had just, it seemed like one weather event after another, after another, after another.
They were event after event across the country. So that's
Okay.
not.
In particular, that year of 84, I can remember North Carolina getting slammed with straight line winds on the coast in excess of 100 miles an hour. Okay, they're hurricane strength winds, but it wasn't a hurricane. They were straight line winds on the coast. Inland in North Carolina, they got hammered with snow like 10 feet. Within a couple months, the Midwest was just deluged with flooding. That same year, there's all kinds of tornadoes happening throughout the Midwest. In 84, like I said, it was a record-breaking year for tornadoes, and if I'm not mistaken, it was also a record-breaking year for hurricanes that year.
You remember this, Frank?
This is not uncommon. Okay, the wildfires we're seeing in California,
Yeah.
again, are not that uncommon. I can remember times when they had 4 and 5 wildland fires going off in California all at the same time.
Yeah, but we have better government. And Frank, I'm sure you remember this, Frank, all of this stuff. The difference about California wildfires is you had good governance back then. So the waterways weren't being shut down by the governor, as Newsom has done. So there was water available to break up the wildfires. You had more management of the forest. So
No,
you had
actually,
to
you had
build up-
less
What?
because that was the same time period when all the tree huggers were coming out. That's when a lot of the spiking of the trees was happening. and so forth. They weren't
Well,
allowed to
84?
manage
No,
force.
that was in the 90s. In
Yeah.
84, they weren't doing that.
I was talking throughout the years.
Oh, no. Yeah. Well, I was speaking more so of the 80s going into the 90s. We started seeing the tree hugger and the stupid movements where we started hearing from the left saying, you can't let the ways that we've always fixed them happen, because climate change, it's global warming. At the time, it was global warming. And so they're like, no, we got to fix this. And their fix wound up to be the cause of the disasters of today because they don't know what they're talking about. And they said all that to get money. And I consistently say, and there's many people who go, oh, but you just deny the science. No, the science says, currently, the science says whatever the government will pay for. But if you're just looking at the empirical data, climate change, there's no man-made climate change. And if the planet's going to heat up again for the 27th time in the history of the planet that we're aware of, there's not a damn thing mankind or any government can do about it. Just can't.
Well, in the 70s, it was going to be a global ice age.
Yeah, Leonard Nimoy said so. Remember that?
Couple of them.
Yeah.
A couple of them said that. Yeah, there was a bunch of Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan was talking about global freezing.
Yeah, it was going to be
70s,
another global ice age.
Yeah. They've been wrong since 1958 on every climate.
Now, they've been wrong on everything since 1929.
Well,
That was the first reports that I've been able to find where the scientists were claiming the Earth is going to catastrophically end because of global warming.
I can go back to 58. I can't go back. I can go back to in 58. They said there would be a global famine, which would be caused because of the climate. Then they went to global freezing in the 70s into the 80s, global warming 80s to the 90s. Starting in the 2000s, they just gave up calling it any one specific thing because they're always wrong. And so then they just said it's climate change because the climate changes every day. So you can't say they're wrong anymore. And it covers everything. So anything that happens is climate change.
This was actually in the New York Times.
All
What?
the news is fit to print.
From their archives.
Okay. Yeah, I just
News of an ice age.
I didn't doubt you. I know from my research I've gone back to 1958.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't doubt you. But it's
So yeah, I mean it's been that's the earliest report that I've seen.
Yeah. So you look a little pensive, Frank. Everything all right down on your end?
can't hear you.
No volume, Frank.
Your mic, Frank. Okay. It's the headset that has a crappy mic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Not coming through.
Not yet. Well, Frank's just keep talking when you get through. We'll let you give you a high sign when we know you're there. But in talking about, since we're talking about some of the disasters out there, we're talking about the West Coast. We're talking about their failures with Governor Newsom and such. Did you guys see National Guard? Not big news. The 2000 National Guard under the federal control have been sent out of California.
What do you mean they've been sent out of California?
They're told to stand down. That was as of July 15th, 2 days ago, 1 day ago.
Did that order come from?
News came out. The Pentagon is withdrawing the troops, the National Guard troops.
Right.
And I should say draw down because they went to 2,000, then they increased it, and now they're drawing down again. So I believe they went to 3,000 or 4,000 troops. There was the initial 2,000, then another 2,000, plus the Marines. And now they're drawing down that basically the second wave of National Guard troops are being drawn down because riots are somewhat under control, even though you have various mayors and members of California government trying to use gangs to fight against ICE. So I just found it interesting that no one wants to talk about that. You know, the mainstream media really isn't talking about that.
No, it was only interesting when they were sending the guard into California. They don't really care if they're leaving. So,
Well, it's because you can't keep saying, well, it's authoritarian. Trump's taking over the world. He's taking over America and we're becoming a dictatorship in a military state. National Guard got withdrawn. It's not a military state. It's not authoritarian.
yep.
Now, you can make the argument that they shouldn't have been spun up in the first place, but that story should be completed with your fear. The fear of the media was misplaced. They were fear mongering you to get votes for their political preference because just like everything else, oh, Trump would never give up power. He did. Oh, they were trying to take over the government, except they didn't. Oh, look, it's, everything they say. And then very quietly, they tell you, and we were wrong. And they were wrong.
They whisper it in the corners, which is like, we were wrong. So you don't catch it.
Yeah, it's just frustrating to me, man. And it doesn't get the attention because it just proves for a fact that they've been fear mongering.
Yeah.
To gin up the public with a bunch of emotions about stuff that was never true in the first place, just because they want to win the next election.
Yeah.
Does anyone disagree with me?
No, and it's a typical thing that they've been doing for years. It just isn't working anymore. That people have become so distrustful that they just won't pay attention to it. And that actually was an argument that was being bandied about through the likes of Tim Pool and others of that, like, satellite is the oops, I heard something.
You hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
Frank.
Fucking communists.
What? Okay.
That's it. The communists of his computer are acting up.
No, the manufacturers of all of these electronic goddamn devices that don't work when you want them to.
Yeah. So I was asking, how are things down home? You guys all right down there?
Yeah, 95 degrees down here today. I had to wait for the sun to go down a little bit before I could go out there and mow the lawn.
Yeah.
It was impossible to breathe. It's like soup down here right now. It's so friggin' hot. And everything is made of glass. There is no shade anywhere down here. The sun goes through the buildings. It goes through the trees. It goes through everything. Sit under a tree, the sun hits you. Hide on the west side of a building at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the sun's there. It's impossible to get away from it. It's just nothing but friggin' there's nothing but sun all the time. And all right, I'm going to throw you a little bit of my input on the whole global warming and all this bullshit that they're talking about. Listen, weather is cyclical. Things happen. Get over it.
Yep.
Okay, that's how it is. We are able to record more events because there's more access to being able to record it. So people are able to report things that happen more often, record things what happen more often. The media cycles 24 hours a day. So a fly farts in Connecticut and all of a sudden there's a dam break in Colorado. There's always something going on. Everything is the goddamn butterfly effect. Now here's the thing about weather that people don't ever really talk about. There is the butterfly effect. When you have a drought someplace, you have excessive rain someplace else. When you have excessive rain in one place, you have a drought somewhere else. Things happen. Everything affects one thing to one degree or another. It's a globe. It's a sphere, okay? Mm-hmm. This is an encapsulated sphere inside of its own atmosphere. Winds, rotation of the earth, sunlight, everything affects everything else. And what happens on one side of the planet is going to wind up going to be the opposite of another. With that whole, you know, everything has an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah.
Well, what happens when you have a tsunami? Okay. You have a tsunami. You get a dip in the water someplace. Where's that water got to go? It's got to go high someplace else, and it winds up wiping something else. Every time there's a tsunami, you get like 3 miles of coastline winds up becoming visible. Well, where did all that water go? The water all pulls out to the ocean, builds up, and flows back in. The same thing whenever you have, these lakes are drying up. Well, where'd all the water go? The water is either in the ground or it went someplace else. It happens. You get heat, water evaporates, it rains someplace else. The wind moves the cloud, it rains over there. The whole climate change philosophy is built on fear.
Yep.
We can't predict anything, so the only thing they can do is sell you on the fear that things are going to happen that are bad. And then when something bad happens, people don't say, well, shit, it's the weather. They go, oh, no, it's global warming. It's this. It's climate change. We see the same photos of landmarks that are on the coast that were there, built by humans thousands of years ago. We see the photos of them taken in 1850. The water level is exactly the same freaking place that it is now.
Plymouth Rock.
Right,
Plymouth Rock, great example of it.
It's the same friggin' thing.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to know what water level does when ice caps melt, take a glass of water and fill it with ice. Now fill the glass with water. You're going to see the ice permeate above the top of the glass. Leave it be. Let the ice melt. Where's all that extra? Oh, the ice is above the rim of the glass. Where's all that water going to go? It's called displacement. The ice melts, and it takes the place of the water that it's displacing through buoyancy. The water level isn't going to change. Now, we've got 200 trillion tons of additional ice being built at the caps. They're not telling you about that. What they were telling you 5 years ago is that all the polar bears are going to have to shave down and wear bikinis because it's getting too hot up there for them. All right, it's all it's all a joke. It's all a scam. That's all it ever is. All you have to do is, they had to spend 100 years to get to the point where they could say carbon tax. That's how we're going to fix everything. Carbon tax. As soon as they introduce a tax to fix something they have no control over, it's a scam.
Yeah.
It's a scam. It's like gun control. If we take everybody's guns, nobody's going to kill everybody anymore. Okay, well, then you got to think about knives, hammers, fists, feet, baseball bats, and everything else. But that has nothing to do with it. No, it's just the guns that do something bad. It's always something. And as long as there's somebody willing to figure out a way how they can make money off of it. Time magazine said we were going to all freeze. 10 years later, they said we were going to drown. 10 years later, they said we were all going to cook.
Here we are.
Nobody also takes account for the fact that I wish I had a sphere out here that I could demonstrate for you. The Earth just doesn't spin on its axis. It wobbles. Okay. So there are times in Earth's history where certain hemispheres are on one tilt or another, closer or further away from the sun, getting more or less sunshine, more or less solar waves, more or less solar wind, everything. Those things as they go. Africa used to be a deciduous rainforest 15,000 years ago. Okay, they had rivers, they had this. I mean, you look at what the landscape was. Why do we find aquatic dinosaur fossils on mountaintops? Geological heave. Why do we find earth-based, earthen dinosaur fossils in seabeds? Well, wasn't that above water at one time? When they died, they didn't go swimming and drop dead out there, going for a swim. That was all above. Right? That was above ground. Earth changes. It always changes. Life changes. Get over it. You can't tax your way into fixing these things.
Yeah.
Earth. George Carlin said the human species is like a flea on a dog's back. Earth is going to shake us off. Earth is not going to give a flying shit about what we do to it. We've let off how many nuclear explosions just in Nevada in the testing grounds out there? Hundreds of nuclear bombs we've detonated on our own country. Where's the nuclear fallout? They're talking about all this nuclear apocalypse that we were supposed to have if somebody dropped a bomb on a major metropolitan city. But meanwhile, we dropped thousands of them on ourselves. Where's all the fallout from that? Where's all the cataclysm? Why isn't Earth shattered in half and we have two separate pieces, floating through space right now? We can't hurt this Earth. We cannot hurt this Earth. The deepest we've ever drilled into the surface of this Earth is just over a mile. Yeah. There's a hole in Russia that they've drilled into the ground just over a mile. You know what happens when you drill beyond a mile? You can't drill anymore because everything friggin' cooks. You burn everything else up.
Or it fills with water.
Nothing we do is going to hurt the planet. Yeah, are we going to pollute everything? Yeah, we'll have some screwed up streams and some screwed up rivers, and we might have certain cities that have got poor air quality and everything. Weren't we all supposed to die from acid rain 25 years ago? Weren't we all supposed to walk outside the house and our umbrella's supposed to melt in our hand, and we were supposed to be skeletal remains?
The only people who know that are Mike, you, and me. We're old enough. Dal isn't even old enough to remember the acid rain because
I remember the
going to the 80s.
I remember
acid rain.
All right, remember. Okay, listen. I want everybody to keep this into perspective. Okay, during the 1950s and 60s, we were told that when we heard an air raid siren to crawl under our desk, that we'd be safe. That when the bombs hit, if we were under our desk, we would be safe. This is the same exact government that told us in the 70s, if we ran into the basement of our buildings, as long as it had the little 3 triangle sign that said fallout shelter, we would be safe. They never made for any accommodations for air, water, supplies, or anything else like that. No, we would go down there and we were supposed to wait the 90 days in the school building basement, wait for the catastrophe to end, but they never accommodated for the fact that people got to eat, crap, sleep, and all the rest of that stuff. So this is the same government. This is the same government that said that the cashier could handle all of your groceries, put them in a bag, and that was fine so long as they were behind a sheet of plexiglass. Okay, but then this is the same one that said, "Oh, you want to go to the drive-through for your touchless food delivery." The people in the restaurant had to put all your food into your bags, put it in a bin. Then they would hand the bin out the window. You would take your credit card, put it in the bin, hand it back to the person. They take the credit card, swipe it, then hand you back your credit card, and then and then give you your food back in the same friggin' bin. People have to touch it. People have to touch it, okay? People have to touch everything.
Yeah.
These are the same people that said if you walked into a restaurant, you had to wear a mask. But if you sat down, you could take it off. So I theorized, well, what happens if I roll into the restaurant in a wheelchair?
You're sitting down.
What happens if a short person, somebody suffering from primordial dwarfism, should happen to walk into a restaurant? They're on foot. Are they required to wear a mask when they're already lower than the person sitting down at the thing? No, they had to make them wear a mask. Okay. You're asking for logic. You're asking for common sense from people and organizations that have made a complete livelihood of bending the truth and trying to make you believe that up is down and down is up and good is evil and evil is good. Trust none of them. None of it makes any sense. It never did. It never will. It doesn't matter how much, whenever there's a problem that they say throw money at it and it'll solve it, you know that they want the money.
Right.
They don't want to cure the problem.
Frank, that's everything. That's every problem.
Right.
They throw money at it. There is no issue that Democrats do it more publicly and more proudly. Republicans do it too, but Democrats do it more publicly and more proudly. But the answer from most in the establishment today is throw money at it.
Well, I mean, listen, there are currently and two of you on the panel tonight should appreciate this. There are currently 2 studies coming out of England right now. They said that they've had a new molecular breakthrough that they've been working on for the last 30 years to cure male pattern baldness. Fortunately, I don't have this issue. Okay, now you got
This is
you
lighting.
going.
This is
right,
the lighting. I got
right.
more hair. It's thin,
I know.
but it's there.
It's thin, but it's there. All right, but if you're going bald, we got a fix for you. Got cancer? Not so much. Because again, the medical industry, like government, will pay you. They want the money for the treatment, but they'll never give you the cure. And the same thing is with government. All they want to do is rule by fear so you can hand over more freedom, hand over more money, hand over more control. And all you need to do right now for verification that all this is absolutely true is look at the legislation they're passing in California. Have you seen what they're doing in California? California is now going to be using the money they collected from from property taxes to buy back all of the properties that were affected by all of the fires last year at 40%. So
same thing Hawaii did. Hawaii did the same thing.
All right. So you are taking your tax dollars that they're erroneously charging you on property you own. You're paying them money on property you own that you bought. In exchange, they tell you you're going to get a certain number of services that you don't ever get. Then they take the money, figure out a way how to burn your frigging property down, and then come in and buy your property back for 40% the market rate with the money they took from you in the first place.
Yeah.
Trust government, folks. They're here to help. That's what they're here for.
Yeah. I mean,
and you wonder why I say burn it all down.
No.
Why I say it?
No. Yes, I did hear about that in California. No, I'm not surprised that they do it because they've been doing similar things. Again, this is the same thing that they did in. Remember the Maui fires out of Hawaii?
Yeah,
they did the same thing there. The government stepped in, bought everything that had burned down, bought it cheap, and
unless it was this color blue. If it was this color blue, it didn't burn.
Yeah, that was weird.
Nothing blue burned in California or in Hawaii. Kind of odd.
I've heard that theory. I don't know that's been confirmed.
It's been confirmed.
And it's also the same theory that you can turn around and you look at what happened here in Texas with the flooding over there. You know what caused the flooding over there? Cloud seeding operations.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
All right. We as people interfere with what the world is doing. The world is doing what the world does. Spins and shit happens. Whenever we try to go in and correct or change what the world is doing, people die. And unfortunately, people are doing it because they want to profit from it. Or they want to figure out a way how to profit from it, or they want to be able to instill fear on it. When you've got people out there saying, I think the best way that we can cure global warming is to block out the sun.
Yeah, I heard about that 2 years ago. Actually, 2.5 years ago, they came up with the idea under Biden.
We have too much carbon dioxide. Have you ever driven along the side of the highway, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever notice that the trees and the grass along the sides of the highway are much greener and much more lush?
It's because of
the carbon monoxide. We are feeding them with the pollution that comes from our vehicles. They thrive on it with CO2 and CO3. They thrive on it. And then they say, well, why do we always see all the animals dead along the sides of the road? Because we sold. Why do they get hit right there more often? Because we salt the roads.
Yeah, and
we salt the roads, and they come in and they come right up to the edge of the highway. These are things that we have done. Now, if they say there's too much carbon monoxide, and dioxide, what the hell are the trees doing there?
Yeah,
that's Earth's natural filter is the trees.
Yes.
Yeah.
When was the last time anybody hear about the ozone layer lately?
Mostly repaired itself.
Actually, there's been some recent news on the ozone layer.
Oh, really? Last
Yeah.
I heard that the hole over Antarctica was closed back in the 90s. That's all I remember.
Not the
Yeah, the
90s,
whole
early
the
2000s.
hole that the hole that we can't see, the hole that we can't detect, the hole that was suddenly theorized is there is suddenly corrected. Do you know why? Because they found out that, you know what, ozone generators are good for business. We can sell ozone that comes in a hairspray can is bad for business, but if you want an ozone generator to clean the air in your house, that's good for business.
Yeah,
So
the
you can get
underpure or
ozone
whatever.
filters and produce ozone in your house all the good goddamn day long, and that's just fine. But God forbid you use a little freaking Aquanet. Oh, you just killed the people in Tahiti.
That didn't go over very well with New Jersey. All right. All right. So
The
It's
state
all
of
a
Aquanet.
scam.
I'm not disputing the scam that is government, any government, our government, every government, and climate change, and some of the idiotic ways that we spend money that we should absolutely not be spending on that. Given, let's switch up gears a little bit. So, Ben, a little bit on immigration because we were kind of talking about that. We're kind of talking about California. There's obviously illegal aliens, big problem. We've been spending way too much money, as I was mentioning before. We have to actually choose to not help American citizens that are in need to pay for illegal aliens that are criminals, that broke our law, that shouldn't be here in the first place. And Democrats are fighting for them to be able to do that. Most recently, as an example, in California, there was a farm, which happens to be a hemp farm, because the news media drops out the fact that what does this thing make? Weed. So it's not for food. This isn't to feed people. This is purely a commercial farm.
Was it
It
hemp
was
or
raided by ICE.
was it hemp or was it the marijuana?
Huh?
Was it hemp or was it marijuana?
Marijuana.
Okay.
But hemp, they usually grow both side by side. And so in this raid by ICE, which judges are now saying they can't do anymore, we found that 300 people got arrested or detained. Many of them are going to be deported. And there were 10 children under the age of 14 that were working on that farm. By the way, this is a crime, clear, absolute crime, even for those people who work on farms. And yes, across the United States, there are many laws that say kids can work on a farm if they're under the age of 16, not under the age of 14. These
Right.
kids were under the age of 14. They're not American citizens. So these kids had to be abused to come to America by themselves. They're unaccompanied minors. Somehow, this child who has no adult somehow appears at this farm that's not making food. This is commercial, to start picking hemp and marijuana along with adults, a clear violation of California law and federal law. And the Democrats are like, oh my God, the Trump administration has gone too far. Now, I say all of that to bring up the fact that the answer to this, the way to resolve this, besides one, arresting the illegal aliens, detaining them and deporting them to, I don't give a damn where, deport them. The other thing is that every state, I don't know if you guys saw this, it was announced by Kirsty Noem this weekend that there will be at least 5 more states are looking to add their own version of a alligator Alcatraz, like in Florida, that they're going to be doing it in 5 more states. We're pretty sure, not guaranteed, but pretty sure that would include Alaska, where they got the Kodiak bears. So I would call it a Kodiak camp.
Yeah.
It would, huh?
Now I'm just laughing because they'd serve Coke up there so that Santa could have fun with the polar bears and stuff.
Yeah. But I like the
That's
Kodiak
required to
camp.
have cane sugar now.
Yeah,
What?
that's cool.
Yeah, they switched that over. RFK actually got something done. And then in Kentucky is another one of the states most likely where they're going to be opening up these.
Okay, what were you saying about the ages for child labor on farms?
They're under 14. That's illegal.
No, it's not.
In California, it is.
Well, I think there are certain allowances
Federally,
if it's a family-owned farm, but that one in California,
federally,
is
use
a
12 and
consortium.
13 can work on farms with parental consent,
There is no parental consent.
or if their parents are also employed there.
There was no parents there. These are unaccompanied minors, 10 of them. So it's illegal.
Well,
Yeah,
the
there's
fact that they're unaccompanied minors, it's illegal that they're working to begin with.
Again, they're illegal. That's no matter how. And I've heard, by the way, Mike, the argument you're making is the argument that was made on CNN and MSNBC and ABC News. I know those three particular, I saw their coverage of this. And the news media were trying to cover the Democrats and justify why we should have these illegal aliens and why these kids it's okay that they were working on this commercial farm, even though they're unaccompanied minors, even though they're illegally in America, even though it's child abuse. They were trying to cover it up. And then the details, and no one's covered. This is why this story got killed. The details are that these kids, even if you're looking at California law, you're looking at federal law, it's illegal.
Well,
no matter
that's
how you want to look
just
at
it.
these kids on multiple levels, it's illegal that they're there. ICE was helping to protect children by arresting the illegals and finding them. And somehow that's supposed to make me a bad guy because I want ICE to protect those kids by arresting everyone, detaining them, and sending them back home where they don't have to do slave labor, essentially picking cotton. There's no reason for that. There's no reason for that. But yet we're the bad guys. And they're trying to spin this every way they can to say, no, those kids, it's okay. No, it's not. It's not okay for American kids. It's not okay for those kids.
They're just trying to provide for their family. Listen, guys, I'm gonna book out of here tonight. I got a 4 a.m. deadline that I got to meet with my alarm clock, so I got to go hit the hay. But I'll catch you guys next week. I'm not working Thursday next week, so yeah, I'll be able to bitch, moan, and complain for the whole 2 hours. I'll see you guys later. Good night,
Good night,
guys.
Frank.
Actually, we're going to have to cut this show short
Yeah.
early tonight anyway because I'm getting beat to hell with work.
Yeah, for our audience out there, we're all working stiffs. We have 9 to 5s. We don't. This is not a for-profit organization. This is definitely a labor of love, and so we come on every weekend or every week, just because we want to. And our day jobs, they help us do that. But we could go further as the audience helps out the Liberty First Foundation and propel us into bigger and greater things. We might have more time to actually dedicate to the constitutional education of the masses and real discussions and in-depth researching and dives. But as it is, we have to make do with the limited resources that our own aching backs can provide. So we apologize for the shortness of this week's episode, but it's going to be a little tight.
Yeah.
But I do think, maybe you guys agree, maybe you don't. The answer is not just the ICE raids. The answer is the detainment cells. And we already started hearing they're effective.
Yes.
Because there's been a recent poll. Many illegal aliens are saying, rather than getting detained in like the Alligator Alcatraz in Florida, they want to self-deport. That's the point.
Yeah.
If we had an Alligator Alcatraz or a Kodiak camp or a Kentucky bobcat box or whatever you want to call it in each and every state, if we had 50 of them, we would have fewer illegal aliens so that those very same locations wouldn't be necessary.
Right.
And the best way to make them unnecessary and to close them down is to make them widespread, I think. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and when it comes right down to it, we have to recognize that a lot of these illegals that are here because they're being enslaved. People don't think about that. Like especially when they put it across, when you talk about slavery in the United States, 9 times
I
out of
have
10,
the solution.
What?
I have the solution. I'll show you here in just a second.
9 times out of 10, when you have people discussing slavery in the United States, they're talking about the slavery that occurred during the 1860s. They don't see these people. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Put them on these abandoned cruise ships.
No, because we got to take care of them. I don't want them on an abandoned cruise ship. Send them to Anchorage.
We have to take care of them at Alcatraz too.
No, that's temporary. We put them on Alcatraz, and then we ship them over to the South Sudan. We send them over to El Salvador. We're sending them to Eritrea.
The same would happen with these.
Huh?
The same would happen putting them on here.
Yeah, but that's too comfortable. I don't want them comfortable. I want them to be in locations that are inherently deadly, inherently desolate and depressing.
I'm not talking rebuilding these cruise ships back to their original luster. Turn them into a damn prison ship.
No, I don't. I think it's
actually.
I think it's easier to just stick them in a swamp, stick them in the middle of the woods, stick them in the middle of a desert, stick them in the middle of the mountains. Say if you try and escape, fantastic. You got to get past a bobcat, a Kodiak bear, or an alligator, and then deport them because that's demoralizing. There's no way to.
How are they going to escape from here?
Huh? It's not demoralizing.
Escape from here.
It's not demoralizing to say I'm going to put you on a luxury boat.
I don't know.
Don't build it luxury.
I don't care what it was built as a luxury boat.
They look like they're pretty decrepit.
They do, but they were built as luxury. I'm talking about the
rooms into 6x8 cells, just like a prison.
You know, that the alternative could be that they could try to make it seaworthy again and just ship themselves off and watch them sink off the coast. That would be
especially this container ship here on the end.
Oh, that would suck.
That seems inhumane. But by the way, Dow, to your point, there's a lot of blue sky Democrats are actually claiming that the Trump administration is in fact dropping illegal aliens in the middle of the ocean. And their reason is because racism. They think, because they're racist, so he's just dropping them in. Not true. No evidence to that. They just say it because they want to be insulting. But I understand your idea about the luxury or the former luxury yachts. I don't like it. There's too many ways it can go wrong. It's too many factors that could be a problem. Too many security risks. I think it's easier.
There's less security risks on that than there is on land.
What?
There's less security risk with that than there is on land.
No, there isn't.
You put that 20 miles offshore? How they going to escape?
No, because now you got to deal with water and you got to deal with patrols, and I don't want to deal with that. Put it in the middle of, you know what?
You anchor the damn thing.
No, you put a camp in the middle of Alaska near the Kodiak bears. You put it in the middle of a swamp and surrounded by alligators and rattlesnakes, and you say to them, you're going to be here for the next 2-3 weeks until we can deport you to South Sudan or El Salvador or Antarctica. I don't care where. You're temporary. And we are just going to have you here for a minute and ship you out. That is demoralizing. That sends the message. It's relatively cheap, relatively easy to maintain. It is humanitarian, even though Debbie Wasserman Schultz would like to say it's not. She's just out of her mind. It is, because they're rated to survive hurricane and has food and has electricity, all that stuff.
Plumbing.
And it's just a simple, easy to maintain, easy to secure, easy build up, easy tear down kind of facility. And I want them deported into Antarctica. I don't care. Wherever someone will take them, I don't care. And I want it to be as minimum effort as is possible. But I want it to be, but I think the negativity of it is a good thing. I mean, you don't have to agree with me.
No.
I think there's a lot goes online. It's a lot less secure than a vessel out in the middle of the ocean. It doesn't necessarily have to be those abandoned cruise ships. It could be container ships. Okay, and you can literally set them up just like detention centers are already set up. Okay, except this is out in the middle of the ocean where there is no escaping.
The middle of the ocean brings in logistical problems in terms of getting food, in terms of people jumping off the boat and either trying to commit suicide or stupid ideas of trying to
You
save
get that no matter where you're at.
No, you're not going to. You know what? If I put you in the middle of a swamp or I put you in the middle of the woods, it's not the same risk as being in the middle of an ocean. It's not. And the United States is going to be responsible for anyone, whether by accident, by weather, by whatever reason, someone jumps off, falls off, gets thrown off that boat. The U.S. is going to be called that we're not surviving. We're not providing humanitarian care. It's a negative against us. You're not going to get that in the swamp, in the middle of the woods, in the middle of a desert. You're not getting those things. There's other arguments, but not that argument. Logistically, there's too many problems, too many potential problems in the middle of an ocean. Again, I haven't done the full research on it. I'm just going by the obvious problems with it. The boat can sink. Someone could target it. Easy to jump off or be thrown off, either for escape or for suicide, or just they don't like you. It's harder to secure because it's got more nooks, more crannies, more areas that you can go around. I don't like it. It's easy. I got ground. It's flat. Unless you're trying to do the Great Escape, you're not going to. And if you do, now you got to deal with the local fauna, and they're not going to like you very much.
Yeah, and
Okay, what's easier to target?
Huh?
Land-based facility or a ship?
We need to target.
A ship that's not moving is the same as a land target when it comes to targeting.
If you're talking about like drones, submarines, boats,
By anything.
Anything, it's not going to matter.
Okay.
If you're
I can't take a land-based assault with tanks and infantry and raid a ship. I can a land-based facility.
No,
yeah, but on ship, I can use a submarine, a boat, a drone, a helicopter, a missile, a rocket. It's the same thing.
And it can all be used. Those can all be used against land-based facilities too.
There's an equivalent. Yeah, but you know what? But a boat can sink. Land won't. A boat, someone can be thrown into the middle of an ocean. You can't fall into the ocean from land.
See, if they get tossed to the wolves out there, that's actually saving the economy, or the ecology rather.
Grace made a great point. Illegals can claim they're seasick, motion sickness. They are, I don't know, allergic to shellfish,
Malaria.
There's malaria. That is an option, but on land,
It's an option. It's a feature, not a bug.
Hey, I like it. Again, good. You don't want to be in the swamp and get malaria. Get out my country. Deport, self-deport, or we're going to send
You
you
don't
to
want to
Sudan.
get seasick, self-deport.
But
The
you're
point-
going to. It's a
the point's-
different. Go ahead.
The
Go ahead.
point still stands that we want to put these places around and spread it around a little bit because we want people to not want to be here if they're illegal.
Yes.
And that's the point. I mean,
Ultimately.
enslavement, it's enslavement, but we don't see it as slavery because we were talking that most times,
Well,
like I was saying
let's call
before,
it what it truly is. Okay, these illegals coming here, regardless of whether it's on their own volition or via somebody else, it's still human trafficking.
Slavery.
slavery.
Yeah.
That's what it is slavery. And most people in the United States still see slavery as people in chains being auctioned off on a slave block in the 1860s. That's not it. Slavery is more profound now because of human trafficking and the dealing of currency of human beings than it has ever been in any point in human history.
Yes, there are more slaves in the world today than at any time in human history. Slavery has never been defeated. It has never gone away, and it isn't the 1860s.
And it never will.
No, but
Yeah.
we can make a concerted effort as a society to not build our country on the ideas of enslaving people to get it to work. That was the whole point of fighting the Civil War.
Yes, and that's part of the reason why I hate when they call it human trafficking or sex trafficking or child trafficking. They're all slavery. Just call it what it is, slavery. But the left has reserved the idea, the concept of, they've hijacked it and turned it into 1860. It's only about American black people and it's only about oppression and white people. No. It's slavery is real, current, present. It's white, it's black, it's Hispanic, it's everybody. Africa is still exporting slaves on a regular basis. Boko Haram isn't stopped by a hashtag from Michelle Obama, and it's happening here in the United States more than enough. Those 10 kids in California are an example of child slavery that's going on right now. That's the only excuse and reason why they were in that commercial farm. And I think that if California, it'll never happen, but if California had the mountain lion exchange or whatever you want to call it, I can't think of the term, but they had a cage that they were detaining people in until they, and I don't mean a 3-star hotel, I mean just like a little cage in the middle of the Mojave Desert, until they could deport people. You'd have fewer illegal aliens and fewer slaves, especially child slaves, in California.
Yeah.
I think that's the best thing we could do. It's most cost effective too. What do you think? What do you think?
I think it works out. I mean, which would you rather spend? $1,000 for them to self-deport, or more to keep them for a short period of time, or even more to keep them forever? I would much rather have 50 detention centers in every state, or 50 detention centers in the nation that nobody wants to go to and would rather leave than go to, than to keep working at this half-assed sort of procedure that they've been doing up until the second administration of Trump. Yeah. So prevalent forms of modern day slavery. There you go. That's the list.
I don't know about that list. Sounds like it's something straight out of the UN, because I don't necessarily agree with the way they're wording some of this. Yes, child labor. Yes, sex trafficking. Absolutely. Debt bondage. I don't know. That's oddly worded and not well defined. Domestic servitude. That doesn't sound right. That sounds like feminism. That doesn't make any real sense, because if anything, that's just slavery, just adult slavery. No difference. So I don't know why they're making it domestic servitude as if it's something separate than adult slavery. Forced labor, again, adult slavery. Why are they making another category? Because they're trying to make a difference out of something that there is no difference
Oh,
for.
that says modern day slavery.
That's fantastic. It's
Okay, and
Doesn't-
that's our
this is from the
form of
UN.
modern day slavery.
Yeah.
This sounds like definitions from the UN, and the UN is trying to make categories of something that really don't need categories. It's stupid. There's what's modern slavery? Adults and children. Full stop. What are slaves used for? Labor and sexual abuse and torture.
Right now, and that's in the United States, it's estimated that 1.09 million people are modern day slaves in the United States.
Yeah, it's actually higher. It's a higher number. I've seen estimates higher than that. Not surprised. And but my point is, and I think the point is, that as much as the UN wants to make it sound nice, and as much as they try and reword it and to create categories just for the sake of trying to minimize it, because if I just say child slavery, adult slavery, we're done. You can't minimize that. But now if I have a category that says domestic or domestic abuse or domestic forced domestic service, it makes it sound like there's less of it. You're minimizing it. You're sanitizing it. I don't want it sanitized. The fact is there's slavery. It's adults and children. It's happening right now. California proved it beyond a shadow of doubt. There is no excuse for it. And the answer to that, in part, besides mass deportations, is having these mobile temporary complexes like the Alligator Alcatraz in every single state. That's ultimately what I think is the answer to this. Because otherwise, people will take advantage of, if there's illegal aliens that are poor and they are disadvantaged for various reasons, they're going to be abused.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about it. That's just human nature. That's just what happens.
So it's either that, or you go to these detention centers, or you end up, being raided and immediately deported. Those are your options. Like
That's what I would like to see. I think that's the best answer.
Yep. And once you get rid of the human capital, the trafficked capital, the slavery, you basically undercut a lot of the corruption that occurs within governance and within our current society structures. Because if the big blow up about the Epstein files is about the corruption, we don't care what happened to Epstein. What we care about is that his case opens a window into a basis of societal machination that we don't want. So if you want to get rid of that, then you need to get rid of what drives it. And what drives it is human capital that's being trafficked into the United States and elsewhere. And if you cut that off, you cut off what makes the corruption run. And in some ways, I think that's what Trump's administration wants to focus on, is cutting off what facilitates that corruption as opposed to addressing it outright. But they were doing a piss poor job of telling the people that if that's the message.
Well, I think that's been one of his biggest problems is communication.
Yeah.
Horrible communication in terms of like tariffs. What's the goal? Short term, long term. Nothing really short term, a whole lot long term. There are benefits there. Bad communication in terms of immigration, the mass immigration. Yes, they're all criminals, every single one of them. And yes, we can deport all of them until we probably get it down to like 15, 20 million, which is manageable. That's realistically what we're looking to do. We want to get rid of 30 million illegal aliens. That's the honest truth. Not that we're ever going to get rid of all of them, but we want to get it down from 50 million down to about, 15 million.
15 million,
roughly.
yeah.
And, in terms of bad communication with like Epstein and the files.
When we've been talking about ever since we started the Liberty First Foundation.
Mhm.
Legal immigration's always been a prevalent topic. When we first started this, the estimated number of illegal immigrants in the United States was 11 million.
Was that
And
was,
people will quote, most of the time, people will quote, and I've seen people say this to me all the time. But Mike, the number's 20 million. Yeah, that was in 1990.
yeah, I was going to say, is that 11 million was back in the 80s, right?
Yeah, and like
No, 11 million was right about the time we started the Liberty First Foundation, started doing our live streams, because we talked about it on several of our live streams.
okay, but the number has never been updated. Everyone's quoting old numbers and old data because
Okay.
it's the smaller
Right.
number. It's the smallest number that they can quote. If they're looking at, and I've seen several studies, and the easiest way to explain it, let's say it's 10 to 20 million, which a lot of people will say, that's the number, which is old, very, very old. Under the Biden administration by himself in 4 years, there was 8 million new illegal aliens that came into America. 8 million plus 11 or 20 puts you somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30. That's the minimum. That's just going by the data everyone likes to quote. The reality is 50. We got 50 million minimum. I've seen reports saying the high end is closer to 80 million illegal aliens. We got at least 50. But even if you don't want to count that, just going by the data everyone likes to quote, we're somewhere between 20 and 30. We just got to cut that number down.
Yeah. Well, like I said, when we first started this, the reported number was 11 million. Okay. And I know that number is astronomically beyond that. Okay. It's 3, 4, 5 times that amount now. Okay. But even at 11 million, we were still saying that number is too high.
Yeah, anything above 0 is too high. There should be no illegal aliens, but that's not realistic. But I'm saying ideally there should be no illegal aliens. It should be everybody that comes into this country is a legal immigrant to that country. And that goes for all around the world. That's not just the United States.
So, and honestly, if they are coming here illegally, there is a reason why they are trying to hide.
Yeah.
Okay. They are either being trafficked for slavery, or they are avoiding some type of criminal prosecution. Okay. If they were just fleeing a country because of political violence or whatever, they would come here the proper way.
Yeah, they'd
Okay.
use the asylum system, or they would be
They
visible.
wouldn't be just trying to cross our borders. Okay. They wouldn't be going from one country to another country so that they can go across several other countries in order to cross our border.
Right.
Yeah, they're abusing the system. Absolutely. If they were legit,
And
would be in the
while
system.
we're at it, we tend to focus on that this is a problem at our southern border. Well, it is actually more of a problem on our northern border, which doesn't get the focus that it should. Okay. Today I was on my way to one of my calls that I had today, and there was a CBP, Customs Border Protection checkpoint while I was en route.
Yeah. Boss was it. And I agree with you with the northern border. I'm just as upset about the northern border as I am the southern, and also the coast, both east and west. We're porous. We need to. Everyone likes to look at the southern because it's the easy thing to point to, and it's the most obvious because we don't have any protections on the north. I mean, literally, you can walk across the northern border from basically the Pacific to the East Coast to the Atlantic and never run into a single person if you really wanted to. That's just the truth of it. But I do need to mention, you may have heard my dog in the background. He's been screaming. Yep. He's 14. I hate to jump out, but I'll try and jump back if you guys are still on. But I do got to jump out and take him because he is 14 years old and he's been feeling.
We're going to start wrapping things up.
Yep.
Okay.
So we'll see you later, Mike. Say hi to Con for us.
I will.
All right.
Have a good night, Mike. So with that being said, Mike's out of here. Frank's out of here. There are a ton of things that we can continue to talk about, but at the end of the day, if we want to start restoring our country, we have to start restoring the intent of the Constitution.
Yep.
Everything boils down to that. And I don't care if you're on the left, I don't care if you're on the right, or I don't care if you're somewhere in the middle. The Constitution is unbiased in its political affiliations. Okay. And it is up to each party. And I'm looking at you Democrats, I'm looking at you Republicans, I'm looking at you Libertarians, Green Party, and that Constitutional Party, and every other party that's out there to hold every other party accountable to the Constitution, including your own party. Because when you allow for a party to violate the Constitution, then you are saying it's okay for every party to violate the Constitution.
Right.
Okay. And we need to stop with this. Well, we're only going to call out violations of the Constitution when it's the other party and not us.
Yeah.
Okay. The Constitution is applicable regardless of what party you belong to and who you affiliate with. Okay. And it's not just the particular sections that you think will get the other party. It's every section of the Constitution that's applicable.
Right.
And this is what we need to start looking at, and what we need to start really pushing for is to get back to this basic foundation of the Constitution. Okay, until we do this, our country is going to continue to falter. It's going to continue to become more and more authoritarian.
Yep.
And we're going to have fewer and fewer freedoms.
And fewer opportunities to reverse course. That's
okay.
the other thing.
When Michael was arguing for FEMA,
yeah.
Okay, that's one of the worst arguments you can make. Well, it's because we already do it. Okay, I'm sorry. That's the worst argument you can make. Just because it's something we do now doesn't mean it's right.
Right, but then you have to ask the people if they're willing to take the pain of removing that and actually doing it themselves. And that's where you have
slavery was prevalent. Everybody thought it was right. Okay, and it was what we always did. So we couldn't get rid of it because it's what we always did. Well, bullshit. It was still wrong. It's wrong as wrong then as it is now. Okay, so just because it's something that we are doing now doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean it's constitutional. It doesn't mean it's good for us as a country. Okay, FEMA is one of those things that I think is extremely bad for the country, because what happens if we have some catastrophic event that completely debilitates the American government? What do we do then?
Right. All your resources are locked up now and no one's authorized to disperse them.
Okay. I'm currently reading a book let me figure out what the title of this book is. But while I'm looking up the title of this book, basically what it amounts to is there was either an EMP, and where I'm at in the book, they haven't said what it is yet. There's either an EMP or a coronal mass injection. That literally knocked out the entire electrical grid and electrical products.
Mhm.
Okay. So essentially, when that happened, the government became non existent. Okay. So if you have a government that's non existent, then who's going to come in and save you?
Right. You would
The
have-
book is called Going Home
Hmm.
by A. American.
Nice.
Okay. And it's literally about that. Okay. What happens when an event literally takes out government? Who do we turn to? Okay. And that's been a common theme in fiction and movies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. FEMA is nothing if there's no government.
Right.
So we have to start building ourselves to be resilient in our communities and having our communities be able to start taking care of themselves first and then assist others next. Okay. It's like they say whenever you board an airplane,
Yep.
put your own mask on first, then help those around you. Okay?
Yeah, and if it
That's what we need to be doing in our communities.
and
And
that's
that isn't being selfish.
no, that's the most effective form of decentralized disaster relief. Is that you everyone prepares so that in the absence of help from other places, you still have something to survive with, and you can basically ally as you need to get resources where they need to be the most.
And here's the real thing on this. Okay. If all of our communities are prepared, our citizens are trained properly, our rescuers are effective, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When a community is impacted, the communities around it can effectively respond.
Right.
And they can do it in a lot faster manner than waiting on the federal government to respond or
Yeah.
even the state government.
Yeah, and the prime example of that would have been the was it Ashford, the recent one, Asheville. That was a prime example. You had private groups with helicopters flying in and out resources and medical equipment and getting people to hospitals. You had private individuals that were doing pack trains, mule trains, bringing into the hills, bringing goods and material to people that were stranded out in
The
the hills.
flooding in Texas.
Yeah. I haven't seen too much of that, so I can't speak to that. I know it
Okay.
was
The
bad.
flooding in Texas, some of the first responders in Texas were private individuals.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think FEMA stopped them,
No.
but FEMA stopped the people in Nashville. Granted, it was a different administration then, but it's a government agency that was supposed to be there to help, and
then,
they didn't.
like I also pointed out earlier when we were talking about this, the biased application of FEMA money.
Yeah.
Okay. How much FEMA money went to help immigrants in New York? How much FEMA money went to California as compared to North Carolina and Texas?
Yep.
Okay. The thing is whenever we put disaster response and disaster recovery in a governmental station, i.e., the federal government, then you're going to have bias against states and localities that are in opposition to whatever political party is in power.
Yep.
And that is why we cannot have that type of stuff at the federal level. That's why it must be at the communal level.
Because then you're just responding. You're not responding with a bias necessarily because you're helping your own.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, and that goes with education. That goes for infrastructure. It goes for, I mean, no matter what you look at.
Yeah.
Okay, where we're looking at the federal government to solve, quote unquote, this issue or that issue. 99.99999% of the time, it should be solved locally.
Yep. So that's why we press education, right? You got to
Exactly.
know it. That's why you got to know this stuff. That isn't. You're not going to learn it in school. In fact, the person that you probably should have learned it best from would be the generations that went before you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people that have actually lived through these things and probably tried to teach you, but you were too young to listen or know better.
But even then, okay, and even with the founding generation coming up with the Constitution and the documents of freedom that it came up with, we still, even under our first Congress, had members of Congress that usurped power that was not granted to them.
Yeah.
And it's happened time and time again. And that is one of the biggest things that the founding generation warned us about. We were warned about it in the Federalist Papers. We were warned about it in the Anti-Federalist Papers.
Yep.
We're warned about it in the state ratifying conventions.
You put people close
Okay.
to power, they're going to covet it and try to control it.
And that's the thing, is we are living today what was warned against in the founding generation.
Yep.
And until we start being involved, we will not see changes. Well, actually, we will see changes, but it's going to go from worse to extremely worse.
Yep.
And eventually, you're going to find yourselves looking back and going, how did this happen? And we already see it. We already ask that. We ask that about our debt. We ask that about the militarization of our law enforcement. I mean, you can go over, you can take whatever issue, left or right. And I guarantee if you really look at the issue, you will find that it's actually us saying, how did we get here? And how we got here is by allowing the Constitution to be disregarded.
Yep. And on that depressing note, it's the truth.
So, with that being said,
Yeah.
Okay, Liberty First Foundation is a constitutional advocacy organization if you haven't figured that out yet. You can find us at l1f.us, and there you can actually become a member of the Liberty First Foundation. Any money that we raise through the Liberty First Foundation is put forth to educate individuals about the Constitution and what their rights are that are protected by the Constitution. And there's more than what's just listed in the Bill of Rights.
Yep.
Folks, we have to be the change that we seek. We can no longer rely on government. In fact, we never should have relied on government. And we are getting further and further away from the original intent of our country and what really made us great.
Yep.
We're here every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We will see you guys next week. Thank you for showing up.